I think one thing that's important for all people is an identity of some sort, right? So, as people, we identify ourselves by certain things, metrics, idealisms, ways of practice, ways of thinking, spiritual checklists, yada yada, blase blase, bip bop bip. And with that in mind, the truth is, I have identified myself as an overanalyzer. I've been an overanalyzer my whole goddamn life. And it took a long time to really realize that and to come to grips with what that means for the psyche of a person who thinks like that. Like in life, you've often probably heard that a person's strength can be their weakness. I don't think that's as true for anybody else on the planet more than an overanalyzer. If I'm going to think everything through 200 times every time, it's just exhausting. So, this episode right here is this is strictly for the overanalyzers. Let's go. Okay, so it's like December 26th or something like that, the day after Christmas 2023. I'll keep it a bean with you. I don't have anything written down as far as like a game plan for this episode. I do pretty well off the cuff just talking because I know a lot. And I said to myself, what could I make this episode even really be about? You know what I mean? And it's early in my tenure as a podcast owner and operator, so it's not like I've run out of ideas or some shit like that. But the point is, I just was asking myself, what could I really, really make this episode about? And I thought about it. You're an overanalyzer, Jamal. Most people think about stuff once or twice. I think about it about 200. Now, with the theme that a strength can be a weakness, understand that what that essentially means is there's a time when thinking about things is a high benefit to a person, and then there are times where thinking about it so much works against a person. I've already decided that I understand the knowledge, and I've looked up the steps and how do you operate it, and if things go wrong, how do you troubleshoot it, and if those things aren't right, what are usually the best advice? Like, I've looked up all of that. And so then it's like, okay, so then why not just go do it? If you've thought about all of that, that means you've thought of all the good possibilities, you thought of all the negative possibilities. Like if you're a company that creates a product, you have to think about, okay, what does my product do? Boom. Now, out of everything it does, what makes it special? Okay, boom. Now that I've identified what makes it special, okay, what could go wrong? Right? You think of all of that. And so my advice for me is usually stop thinking so much and act on something finally. Key emphasis on the word finally. Like it's been 10 years, do it all damn ready. Just do it. Which is completely atypical to the advice I give the average person I know. I usually tell them, hey man, you should probably think about that a couple more times. I mean, truth be told, I'm going to tell you not to do it because it's stupid, but at least for you, think about it a couple more times. No, my advice for me, therefore, my advice for you is just don't overthink everything. I've almost moved to New York at least twice. Thinking about it now. And at the end of the day, overanalyzing, this is when it starts to work against you. If you've already figured out everything, then what's holding you back for real? Why can't you just spur into action? Why can't you? What is it that's making you reconsider again? Even if it's not you, that ends up looking like uncertainty, right? You're just not sure. And I mean, as people, we have our paths. Sometimes you're not sure. Sometimes you just don't know. Hey, man, you know, this is a great idea. I don't know. So how do you get from not knowing to certainty, right? And you know what's funny? You get from not knowing to certainty by just trusting yourself. And sometimes if you're an objective person, saying trust yourself sounds inobjective. Because as humans, we have a large capacity for intellect, but the truth of the matter is our emotions override our intellect. That's why we don't eat better. That's why we're not healthier. And then we go to church and ask Jesus to fix us when you really could have eaten your way to better health, right? And so you just think like, man, all this time, what have I been doing? You've been overanalyzing. You've been overanalyzing. If you've already thought it through, do it. Because even in just a short period of time I've had the podcast, being nervous, I needed to be excellent. Like my sister said, she said, most people are afraid to suck at first. And I said, wow, for me, I'm a perfectionist. That's big. You're absolutely right. I'm scared to suck at first. If I do it, it has to be excellent. That's not realistic. It's going to, and what she meant by suck, she didn't mean like on a scale from 1 to 10, it's a 2. What she meant was, are you willing to struggle at first until you really get the picture with what you're doing here? Have you ever seen that painting where it's like you see it's like a ledge, like a mountain ledge, and it stops like right here, and then you see the foot right here, and then you see like God's hand underneath the foot? That's symbolism. That's symbolic of like the process. Sometime when you step out and do things, you learn as you go. And I think that's the other thing people don't get. Two things that really hit me like in the last probably 2-3 months. I don't think people are scared of failure. I think people are scared of the responsibility and the accountability that they know accompanies success. Because at the end of the day, it's easy to just not be shit. Be real. It's easy to do that. Have some sex, play some video games, go to club every now and then, eat some good food, maybe take a trip out the country. Drunk 2 times a week, whatever. That's easy. It's hard. It's hard to get employees and pay and do payroll every week and to make sure you got enough money coming in to pay them. It's hard to come up with a culture and guidelines and a rule book and a handbook, and then it's really difficult to be accountable. So it's easier to just not do anything. So I don't think people are scared of failure, even though a lot of people are. I think the bigger picture that I would cry, most people are scared of being successful because of the accountability that comes with it that most people are not willing to meet. Accountability is boring. Yeah, I said it. Accountability is boring. And most people don't want to be accountable for anything. This is my life. I'm going to do what I want. Okay, well, like I tell my high school students, people who do what they want suck at life. Because 90% of your life is going to be things you have to do to get along. So I don't think people are scared of failure. They're scared of success. Also is because if you understand the nature of being an excellent person, you think in a way that most people don't. You act in a way most people just don't. So what comes with that is loneliness. As people, we have been created to be social. And I don't even just mean men needing women or women needing men. I need my homeboys. Women need their homegirls. We are created to share this existence with other dope-ass people. So the idea of loneliness sounds really like, no, I don't want that. Success breeds jealousy. Success breeds accountability. But success breeds loneliness. When you become excellent, there's a certain habit of practice, a certain habit of speech. There are certain things you are used to doing that the average person isn't, and it's the reason why they aren't as successful as you at this point, right? What that inherently means, if you read between the lines, is that you end up not being able to relate to most people. And because of that, you end up alone. I started studying like religion and history side by side, and I learned a few things. And I tried to share it with one of my closest friends, mind you. And this person, she's an amazing friend to this day. It's not even like that was the end of our friendship. She's a great friend, best intentions for me and all of that. But when I started sharing what I learned, her literal, and I quote verbatim, her literal sentence, her response was, well, keep that to yourself. Other words, let me be delusional if I choose. Because what I was telling her was true. It was something documented that I had found. It wasn't Jamal's opinion. And that's the other thing people do when they know you're right. When somebody knows you're telling them the truth, it becomes your opinion. I'll just discredit it because, well, it's just your opinion. It's not just opinions. I knew what I was talking about. She didn't want to hear it. Okay, I get that. But for somebody so close to me, it was like, wow. Do you know how that made me feel? Lonely. And in that moment, it hit me. Being successful makes you lonely. Whew. This is why more people aren't successful. Let's be real. They're not scared of failure. They're scared of accountability and loneliness. Most people don't succeed because they are scared of accountability and loneliness. Luckily for me, my favorite time to spend is honestly alone. And I know some amazing people. But for so many reasons, some of them I probably wouldn't even be able to fathom that I'm feeling that, right? At the end of the day, it's much easier to just be alone. When my daughter was 4 years old, I had this very famous incident, and I might have already said this, charge my head, not my heart. Ain't that what they say at church? I had this moment where I was frustrated at the time because my music career wasn't further along. I'm in music school now. I graduate in a year. And I was frustrated about that. Like, I love my daughter. She's gorgeous. I always wanted a daughter. But at the moment I'm sitting here playing with my daughter, I'd rather be on tour. So I was frustrated. She was like 4. She said something to me and I exploded. Nah, man, just whatever, man. Go over there. God grief. And she just kind of went to the other side of the room. And I remember that night tucking her in bed. And I knew I was wrong. I went in my room and I asked myself, I said, okay, literally like a conversation of like two people. There's a song by T.I. called T.I. vs. T.I.P. It's on his 2003 album Trap Music. And on that song, he's literally talking to himself like, what's wrong with you? We need to get some stuff straight. And that song was also a part of this journey. Because I was like, the fact that a guy could be honest enough with himself to say, you know, you really suck sometime. It also helped me in this moment because I said to myself, I said, okay, what's wrong? What are you frustrated about? And the other side of me was like, just not being further along where I want to be. And then the other side of me said, okay, is any of that her fault? Talking about my daughter. And the other side of me was like, no, not really, not necessarily, no. And so then the other side of me was like, okay, how do you feel about her? I was like, my daughter, as the other side of me answered, my daughter? What, please? I always wanted a daughter. That's my baby. I love her to pieces. Fucking love the hell out of her. The other side chimed in and was like, then treat her like that. Almost like, what's wrong with you? And that honestly solved a lot for me. It was about an hour conversation in total. I shared that because one of the things I always tell people is you have to learn how to be able to separate how you feel from what the truth is. And this is harder for some people, particularly sometimes women, because women are emotional. So if they feel it, it has to be true. This is how I feel. And it's like, women are beautifully built with emotion. Men are beautifully built with intellect. There's a balance in that. Everything's a balance. So women being emotional has merit. The down, like I said, the positive of anything can also be its negative, right? So what I'm saying to you is the downside of being emotionally centered is that there seems sometimes to just be no stability. It's just all over the place. I feel like this one moment, I feel like that another moment. I feel like this one moment, I feel like that another moment. Men are stabilizers. And that's why I always tell people for their own good, learn how to take how you feel and what's real. And you have to separate them because otherwise you're going to turn into this person who how you feel matters more than the truth. And you don't want to be that person because at the end of the day, delusional. Right? So I was glad I had that experience. That was another thing that helped me as a man to just realize, feel it, feel it, feel it. Now get your mind right and move on with the rest of your life. You know what I'm saying? I started this episode off talking about overthinking, getting back on track. One thing that I dislike about social media content and things of that nature nowadays is that people are ruining the fabric of life. Men need women, women need men. We need each other. Right? But if you listen to a lot of the rhetoric nowadays, it's, men want to just stay single and do whatever, and women just don't need men. Has anybody ever thought about the fact that maybe people are overthinking this a little bit? Women have vast amount of capabilities, but when it comes to a family structure particularly, because in my opinion, the whole purpose of a relationship is to see if you can build a family with somebody. Unless you two just don't want kids, and that's different. But I feel like people have been overthinking this conversation because who said all a woman was capable of doing was cooking? Who said all a woman was capable of doing is cleaning the house? This is not about your capabilities. This is about the duty of a wife, right? And I don't typically touch the dating space because it's just very convoluted and I don't enjoy it. But at the end of the day, ladies, if you want a man to be out front and you want him to lead, he's going to be in charge. And more than what is she capable of, it's more like, can you fulfill these duties as a wife? You know what I mean? Particularly because if a man makes a certain amount of money, he's going to be busy to a certain limit. He's going to be busy to a certain point, I'll say, not limit, certain point. He's just going to be busy, which means I don't have time to cook. Not you're a woman, you're lesser than me. No, I don't have time. And if we're starting a family and the kids are young, they can't do for themselves. I'm off working. It got to be you. A lot of the time in families, the mom and the women, they're sacrificial lambs. It seems as if you do so much that nobody notices. People notice, but it's just also what you signed up for. Like, what did you think you were going to be as a wife? Like, what did you think was going to be marriage? And I think that's the other thing, people's idealisms. It's just too much overthinking. Candace Owens once talked about when she got married, her husband and her, they fell into their roles. She started worrying about how the house looked, how it smelled, cooking food, taking care of the kids. And he just naturally started worrying about the finances, the bills, how much money we were going to need to really survive or thrive or do extra than thrive. They fell into their roles. Too much overthinking. The old school rules of dating are not based on the capacity of the sexes. Do you honestly think men always feel like leading? I used to say this about Michael Jordan. LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Kevin Durant, you get it. James Harden, Steph Curry, you get what I'm saying. The leader gets all the glory when you win. That's the truth. You could have 48 points, and the leader this particular game had 21. Normally, he leads in points. This game, you led in points, but he's going to get all the credit overall. And that's true. It sucks if you're a part of the team, but guess what? What happens when the leader has 48 points and you have 4? And y'all lose? You know what they're going to say? LeBron didn't score enough. Then what? Do you want to be the leader then? No, you don't want to be the leader then, because you want the glory. You don't want the responsibility of being a leader. Ladies, men don't always want to lead, but we don't have an option. It's just the truth. Everything has caveats and downsides. Everything. And sometimes being a leader is also that everybody who you lead don't want to listen. Too much overthinking. Too much. What do they say? Too many chiefs, not enough Indians? Yes, a chief can't be a chief unless he's leading Indians. And please don't quote me as if, that's not technically correct. What I'm saying is a leader leads people. But if all the people are trying to lead, who is the leader leading? Everybody's piece is important. So in a family dynamic, in a marriage, in a relationship sense, ladies, understand that it's not, this is all I think you can do. No, it's, this is the role. Can you fulfill it? That's it. Fulfill the role. No overthinking. As an overanalyzer, I probably thought myself out of about 10 years of possibilities and opportunities. I think about dating opportunities. I thought about somebody earlier. I was like, wow, I overthought that situation. That probably could have been, me. It could have been me and her. I overthought it. That music opportunities, like my moniker for 2024 is more boldness. I thought that was going to be 23, but the truth is, it just a lot happened this year, and it honestly set everything up for 2024. More boldness. More boldness. Be bold. Act. Do it. I spent the majority of my life rapping, and I had a number of people say to me, you really can sing. You should really think about that. And lately, I just, let's be more bold. So, like when I was at work with the kids, I work at a high school. We were doing karaoke at lunch. I raised my hand and sang. More boldness. Not as much overthinking, overanalyzing. The kind of person I am, I'm going to think it through probably 10, 20 times before I do it. And that's probably too much over damn thinking. But the truth is, it's a lot less than 200. I have things I've thought about 1,000 times and never did. And at some point, you ask yourself, what would make a person do that? To constantly pump fake and not trust their gut. As a parent myself, I'll say to you this. I heard an Asian proverb. The Asian proverb was, it might have been a Chinese proverb. Please don't quote me on the particulars. But the proverb said, the way a parent talks to their child becomes their child's inner voice. So when you're angry and just having a bad day and you're screaming at your kid, you know what you're saying to your kid? You're not worth it. I treat you how I feel like it. So when they turn 15 and don't have no damn confidence, point to when they were 5 and you was having your little temper tantrum, parent. It's a big thing I just told you. It's a big thing I just told you. I had to tell y'all that. When I heard that, I was like, that's, wow. So what have I been thinking about since the age of 5? You know what I mean? I thought about that. Could that be why I became an overanalyzer? The second guessing. The second guessing might be the reason I started overanalyzing in the first place. And I never thought about that. In life, we want acceptance. We want approval, right? We want security. We want validation. And we want confirmation. But if you overanalyze, you can't confirm yourself because you're basically running the same security check over and over again. Like for my tech nerds out there, I'm techie. When you overanalyze, you rehearse the same information unnecessarily far more times than you need to. I had people for years tell me to move. What you're trying to do is better in other places of the world. Just move. Naturally, I thought about my daughter. Naturally, I thought about, if I leave, my daughter's mom has more responsibility. And some of that and other things held me back. But it's 2024, and it's time to move with purpose. It's time to do some things. It's time to be a different person. Hear me. We're not growing up. We're being different people. Because at the end of the day, when you grow up to become, when you grow up to become who you are, you're not grown. You're a different person. Jay-Z talked about that. He did a Breakfast Club interview in 2013. Charlamagne was like, I think it was Charlamagne. Again, charge my head, not my heart. Hey, man, would you and Dame ever be friends again? And Jay was like, not the way we were. And he wasn't being funny. He was saying, it's been so long since we've been in that place. We're just different people. Jay-Z didn't grow up. Jay-Z's a different person. It's 2024, and it's time to be a different person. Everything you've been thinking about, say it. Some of you talk too goddamn much. You need to be quiet more. But some of you don't talk enough. Say it. Sometime you will be wrong. And just correct it. Say, I'm sorry. But see, that's another thing. People suppress themselves because they really know how they are. And that'll be a whole nother video. That'll be a whole nother video. Last thing I'll say is control what you can control and don't worry about it. Too many of us have the what if this happens, what if that, or I don't want people to talk, or I don't want them to think. You can't control that. You honestly cannot. Control what you can control. Most of us don't do that. Don't eat right. Don't exercise. Don't read. Don't study as much as we should. You know what I'm saying? Aren't serious about being, like for black people, aren't serious about being in the community. You'll go to church. You might go to a special presentation, somebody speaking, but on a random Tuesday, are you popping out of the town hall meeting in your neighborhood to see what's going on? Control what you can control. I went to my daughter's American Education Week at her school. Wasn't a bunch of parents there, but it was parents in the building. I count maybe 100. Strong. And then I went back to the school I work at. Because I went for my daughter's first 2 periods, and then I left for the day. I went back to the school I work at, no parents. Control what you can control. This is your neighborhood. Your kids go to these schools. Why aren't you at the meetings? Why not at a conference? And I haven't gone to the most conferences. I really haven't. I've gone to some. But for a school to be completely void of parents, are you seriously telling me you think the education of your child is the responsibility of the school, i.e. the state, not you? Look, clearly I have a lot to talk about and have a lot to share. I'm going to end the video right here. But control what you can control and stop overanalyzing other things. You can't control it in the first place, and you shouldn't have any expectation of it. Control what you can control, people. Let's make 2024 the last time you say, oh, this is going to be the year. Stop doing that. Be honest with yourself. I had a homegirl one time. She was like, I'm not going to the gym. I'm not trying to get thin. I'm fat. I'm not doing it. And I laughed, but she was like, what? I'm not. And it wasn't her saying, I give up, because after that, she started working out. She got thinner. But it took her being honest for once. I'm not actually on a fitness path, am I? And once she was honest, then the light bulb came on. You really should change that. And away we go. Control what you can control. Don't worry about the rest. I love you guys. I'm probably going to put another video or 2 up this year. If you like the video, subscribe, comment. Please like, subscribe, comment. I'm trying to grow my channel to 1,000 subscribers. I think I'm a little bit shy of maybe 420 or something like that. So I got some work to do. I'm going to do that work because that's what I can control. But your viewership and, sharing your videos, telling people, that will really help. All right. So until next time, peace.